All right, guys. Hopefully, at this point, you've at least attempted the ice cream problem, like pretty much all the way through, and you're using this to sort of check your work, or maybe, yeah, you're stuck in a certain spot and you're having a hard time with it, and that's okay too. But I want to go over this kind of quickly with you all and show you what's going on, because this is the second time, really, first time we've seen matrix multiplication like in action in a real situation, but also the first time we've seen us labeling matrices, kind of keeping track of our information as we go through. And the ultimate goal here was we want to start this business, an ice cream shop, and we want to make different types of ice cream. And we're really curious, like, okay, where should we buy our supplies? Like, we've got two stores we're picking from, and so we want to make sure that we know exactly who's going to be the cheaper store. But when you start thinking about that problem, it seems really simple at first. And you think, well, I've got different types, and yeah, I've got different amounts of people coming in on different days of the week and holidays. And of course, that means I need to make more on certain days. So how do I take all of that information into account all at once to figure out the total cost that I'm going to need over the course of a year? And that's where matrices come into play. All right, so these first two in the boxes, let's just start with this one on the left here. These should have been from just reading through the directions and filling in, reading through the directions and then filling these in from the directions, because they said, okay, they've got two types of ice cream you're making, extra rich and light, and the ingredients that are required are the following. So let's start with the light ice cream. You should have found that we need 1.5 dozen eggs. And I use that. If you had used 18, that would have been okay also. Your numbers would have just been, or would be a lot bigger than what I'm going to use on here. We need 2.5 gallons of cream and 5.5 gallons of milk for the light ice cream. For the extra rich, we need 2 dozen eggs, 5 gallons of cream, and 3 gallons of milk. All right, so that was really just a copy paste and kind of deciphering through it. If you don't realize where that's coming from, go back to the directions or the sort of informational sheet I gave you, and you should be able to find those numbers in there for the two recipes. Now, the other thing that we took into account from there, from the directions, was how many ice creams or types of ice cream we're selling per day. So on a weekday, they noticed that was kind of their less busy day. They were only selling 6 tubs of light ice cream and 18 tubs of extra rich. Where on the weekends, they were selling, these are the least busiest days. They were selling 6 tubs of the light and 12 of the extra rich. And then on the holidays, 8 of the light and 15 of the extra rich, okay? So we should have had those filled out, ready to go. Now, onto the first sort of hard part of this problem, which was, how do we figure out then how many ingredients we need on a weekday, a weekend, and a holiday, right? Like, how many eggs do we need on a weekday? I'm actually going to highlight this spot right here so that we know that what this is. This spot right here, there's going to be 3 of them right here, right? Because there's 3 labels, eggs, cream, and milk, and then this is all on the weekday. But let's just start with that very top one. That top highlighted spot is eggs on a weekday. Like, how many do you need? And you think, oh, okay, well, this isn't too hard of a calculation, because right on a weekday, how many eggs do I need? Well, let's see here. I have how many eggs do I need for a light? I need 1.5. How many eggs do I need for an extra rich? I need 2. And then you think, well, okay, how many extra rich and light am I making on a weekday? So you come over here and you say, weekdays. Here's our weekdays. I'm making 6 light and 18 extra rich. And now, let me even extend this a little bit. This little highlighter. This should look very familiar to what we were doing the other day with matrix multiplication. All right, I'm going to take 1.5 eggs for the light, 2 eggs for the extra rich, times the number of light and extra rich ice cream I'm making that day. So let's just do this very first one together. It'll be, okay, I need 1.5, so let's jot this over here, 1.5 eggs for the light batch, and I'm going to make 6 of them. So if you think about 1.5 times 6 means I need, what do I need there? 9 dozen eggs then, and that makes sense. But I also need to make a bunch of extra rich, and as I'm actually noticing this right here, and you guys probably were wondering this too, this is actually a 10. Let me switch that real quick. That would have made a big difference in our calculation. I'm only making 10 batches of extra rich on a weekday. But those 10 batches of extra rich do require 2 dozen eggs apiece, right? So plus 2 times 10. Right, so essentially 1.5 times 6, 2 times 10. 2 for the extra rich, 1.5 for the light. And that comes out to 29, right? 29. So 29 is the way to go. There we are. All right, well, we can work our way across, I guess. We can just knock out all the eggs. So we could go now to eggs on the weekend and then eggs on the holiday, since I've got my eggs highlighted. So let's talk about eggs again. So I still need the 1.5 for light and the 2 for extra rich. But on the weekends, I have a much different story. I've got 6 light and 10 extra rich. So in this case now, I've got 1.5 times the 6 batches I need to make for light, but I've got 2 times 12. I need 2 eggs for the extra rich, and I make 12 extra rich on the weekends. So down here we'll go 1.5, let's see here, 1.5 times 6, and then plus 2 times 12. And that will come out to, let's see, 24, 33. And there we go. We need 33 on the weekend days. And then last but not least, we'll look at our holidays. We've got 8 and 15. So 1.5, we'll go back. We need 1.5 for every light batch, and we need 8 light batches. So 1.5 times 8. And then we need 2 dozen for every rich, and we need 15 extra rich. So that's 30, 42, right? So we end up with 42 right there. And there we go. And I know I'm doing that math kind of quickly, but hopefully you're staying with me on just the calculation part of it. All right, so let's talk about the second column, which is now, or the second row, pardon me, which is now the cream row. How much cream do we need? Well, let's look at what kind of how much cream we need for light and extra rich. So I'm going to erase. I didn't mean to erase that here. Let's see. All right. I'm going to erase kind of this bar right here. There we go. So now we want to look at cream. So that means we're going to check out the 2.5 for the light and the 5 for the extra rich. So let's start with weekdays. How much cream do we need on a weekday? Well, if we need 2.5 for light and 5 for extra rich, and the weekdays we have 6 and 10, here we go. Back to 2.5 times 6 and 5 times 10. Right? So 2.5 times 6 and 5 times 10 will leave us with 65. I'm going to skip the work here because, again, I want this to mainly be you checking your work. I don't want to give you all the work. I want you to go and do it yourself so that you get the practice in. And then as we work our way across, we'll stay in that cream row, 2.5 and 5, and then we'll go to the weekend column, so 6 and 12. And if you multiply and add those together, you're going to get 75. And then we'll stay in the cream row and go to the holiday column, and we'll get 95. And then we do the last one for milk. We go to that, how much milk do we need for light and extra rich, and then times the 3 columns. And the numbers I got are the following. All right, so hopefully those numbers are the same that you were getting. But let's look at the next page. So the next page had you kind of go through building more matrices and then using those matrices to get ultimately to the end goal of figuring out, okay, which store do we want to go with, the neighborhood store or the our town market. So the next one asks you to create a 3x1 matrix. So in a typical year, there are 252 weekdays, 109 weekends, and 9 holidays. So you can see that now we're starting to organize how many of these different types of days we have, because now we kind of know how many ingredients we need per type of day. Let's figure out how many days we have. So a 3x1 matrix, right? So let's get our size. Should look something like this. 3 rows, 1 column. So we should just see a row of numbers here. So we'll do weekdays here since we're asked to label. Start with that one. Then we'll do weekends. And we'll do holidays. All right, so let's take a look at it. We have 252 weekends, or weekdays, pardon me. The 109 weekdays and 9 holidays. And then, of course, let's label the top as days so we know what those numbers mean. But there we go. There's our 3x1 matrix just based off that information right there. So then I say, okay, let's take that 3x3 matrix, which is ingredients by day that we just created on the last page, and let's multiply it to the 3x1 matrix for just the sheer number of days that we have, okay? Now, a couple things. We want to make sure we set this up correctly. If you multiply, since our 2 dimensions are 3x3 into 3x1, this multiplication, if we do it in this order, will work because these two inner numbers match. However, let me erase that. If you were to do the one, what would it be? A 3 by 1 first, and then a 3 by 3 second, these inner numbers do not match. So our 3 by 3 has to be the first one we multiply by. Remember that rule where those inner numbers need to match for you to be able to multiply two matrices. So we're going to come over here, we're going to set our 3 by 3 up from the first page, and the ingredients by day. Okay, so we got that there. I'm just going to copy down those numbers, the ones right from the bottom of the first page there. 42, 65, 75, and 95, and then we had 63, 69, and 89. And I'm going to say E for eggs, C for cream, and M for milk, just to kind of shorthand this. And then, of course, don't forget this was the week days, weekends, and holidays. All right, now let's take our 3 by 1 matrix that we just made. So we'll come over here, how many days are there? 252, 109, and 9. And this is, week ends. Let me put days on there, actually. And holidays. All right, so we've got that. This is our 3 by 1. The inner numbers match on the dimensions, so we're good to go. Now, if we're going to follow our rules of matrix multiplication, that means we're going to take this row times this column and add it all up. Now, let's think about why this makes sense for a second. We're trying to figure out how many eggs we need in general, right? But the problem is we need 29 on a weekday and 33 on a weekend. But then if I know how many weekdays there are, and I need 29 for every weekday, then I can figure out how many eggs I need, at least on the weekdays. And then if I know how many weekends there are, I can figure out how many eggs I need on the weekend because I need 33 every weekend. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, right? We're going to take 29 times 252, because there's 252 weekdays, 33 times 109, and 42 times 9. And we're going to add all that up, right? And that's going to give us the total number of eggs that we need. So I'll let you show that work off to the side, because again, I wanted you to kind of show your work here. If you need to pause and kind of multiply out the eggs, because then you're going to do the same thing for cream, and then you're going to do the same thing for milk. And based off our outside dimensions here, let's see here, the 3, let me get a green highlighter here, and the 1, we know we're going to end up with another 3 by 1 matrix here. So we'll just kind of jot down the dimensions here. Whoops, I've got green. Let me switch to the red. There we go, 3 by 1. And I don't know how big these numbers are going to be, but I'm doing my calculation right now. And when I do 29 times 252 and 109 times 33 and 42 times 9, it looks like I'm going to get 11,283. Okay, let's do the other ones. Let's go over here to cream and multiply it by the number of days we have. You can pause right now if you need to do that. But I got 25,410, and then let's do the last one for milk times the number of days that we've got going on there. And I got 24,198. Okay, so let's think about what these three numbers mean. Hopefully you know, because I want to label them just like we've been labeling. You've been asked to label on all these. So let's think. 11,283. What is that? Well, what we did to get that 11,283 is we took all the eggs, how many we needed each day, and we multiplied by the number of days. So this is literally the total number of eggs we need in the entire year. Right? So if we put a year at the top, we need 11,000 eggs over the course of a year. Then we need, this is cream, and this is milk. And there we go. Now we have our totals, right? Okay, so now that we know how many ingredients we need all year, based off how much ice cream we have and how many days there are and how many batches we make on those different days, a lot of information going on here, but we've finally boiled it down to that. Let's talk about prices then, right? Because the ultimate goal is to figure out, okay, which are the two stores we want. So number 3 says I need you to create two 1x3 matrices, 1 row, 3 columns. So these are going to be kind of long matrices here. Let's get 2 of them, it says. And one of them needs to be for our town. So we'll just let the first one be our town grocery store. And the second one needs to be for the neighborhood store. All right. So, with that being said, they want us to talk about the price of eggs, the price of cream, and the price of milk. So I'm going to put milk. Oh, no, let's do eggs first. Here, hold on one second. Let me back up here. And we'll do eggs, cream, milk, eggs, cream, milk. So for our town is selling eggs at $1.25 per dozen, $3 for a gallon of cream, and $2.75 for a gallon of milk. Whereas neighborhood, $1.15, so cheaper eggs, but more expensive cream. And in terms of milk, a little bit cheaper for a gallon of milk. So we've got that. Okay, now if you made it to this point, and you made it there yesterday, or you made it before you were watching this video, I'm hoping it's pretty clear as to what we want to do next. We've got our prices per ingredient. Up above, specifically right here, we know how many ingredients we need over the entire year. Let's figure out which store is cheaper. Now, we've got a 3x3 and a 3x1. So let's have this conversation again. Either we do the 1x3 times the 3x1, or we do the 3x1 times the 1x3. And you might say, wait, both of these work. And the reason they both work is the inner numbers on both of these dimensions match. But remember, we're trying to figure out an overall cost, right? And I ask you in the problem to make two 1x1 matrices for the overall cost of everything. So even though both of these problems would work, only one of them makes sense, and it's this one right here. The reason being is, look at the two outside numbers on that, a 1 and a 1. We're going to get a 1x1 matrix if we do that problem. If you do the one that I just crossed out right there, you're going to get a 3x3 as your answer, and I'm not entirely sure. That would be a lot of information that probably means very little, so we don't want to do that. So let's do a 1x3 times a 3x1, which means that, okay, we're going to take, let's just start with our town. Our town is a good one to start with since it's on the, or up first. 1.5, 3, and 2.75. And then there's our 1x3, and then our 3x1, which is our 11,283 times 25,410 times 24,198. And I'm not going to label these ones because I'm just out of room. I know I didn't leave you guys a ton of space here. Just had to try to get this all in. But there we go. Let's multiply these together as they are a 1x3 and a 3x1. We should get a 1x1 as an answer. Just one by one right here. One solid number. And the reason is you'll do row times column. So let's take 1.25, which is the cost of a carton of eggs, times the number of eggs we need, which is 11,283. So what is 1.25 times 11,283? That'll get you your amount of money you need for eggs. Then let's do 3 times 25,410. That'll be for cream. And then we'll do 275 times 24,198. We'll add all those up. And when you add them all up, you get 156,314.10, so 10. That's how much money you need for our town. So let's label it. All right, let's do the same thing for neighborhood. Now, I'm going to leave you guys up for neighborhood. Same calculation, same process. Just go get that neighborhood one and pause this video and make sure, if you hadn't already had it, that you get it now because I'm out of room here. But go ahead and pause. All right, so if you did pause there, you should have been able to multiply the neighborhood one times the ingredients, and because I'm out of room and I can only really fit the answer in here, I got 157,682.94, and that was for neighborhood. All right, so there we go, right? Quite a bit of information, but we finally have an answer. It would be overall cheaper for us to shop at our town by about, I don't know, a little over $1,000. So I think that was worth looking into for, you know, almost a little over $1,300 there. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I mean, I think it's a little bit more fun than, you know, taking some notes. And I know it was tough. Don't get me wrong. It was a challenging problem, but hopefully you kind of persevered through it and, after you hear this explanation, it makes a little bit more sense. Anyway, there's no homework this weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoy your Spirit Day. I'll be back on Monday, and I appreciate all your hard work this week. I know it's probably tough without me being there, but and I've been throwing a lot at you, but I really do appreciate you guys doing it and trying to get it done. So we'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.